Yes, I'm Jan Wan from Mason City. I stated last week that I'm a mathematician. I'm also a fact checker for my profession, work for a publishing company. So I have things coming at me and I get curious. Is that true? Is that false? Can you even do that? So last week we had some interesting facts thrown at us and I went to see. And I started with the Prestage website, which was very interesting. I read about the elder Mr. Prestage starting vertical integration and the farm and the turkey plant with, it said 200 employees. I was surprised at that. It seems small because this one is nearly 1,000. Big difference. But anyway, I read about that and it was all very interesting. And then I took a road trip. I drove all over Wright County down to Eagle Grove. I had my 91-year-old mother with me, and as some mothers are at that age, they get no filters on their mouth, and she wanted to know where we were going. I said, well, this is where we're going. I just wanted to see this town. And she said, well, why are we here? And I said, because the pork plant and all this. And of course, being from Mason City, she read about that. And she said, but why would it be here? And I said, well, I don't know why they chose that, but it's near the aquifer, they have water and that sort of thing. She said, but it's too small. So there you go. There's a quote from a 91-year-old mother who's seen a lot. That is a question, and I did drive around. I drove up all kinds of streets in Eagle Grove. There's a new pool. I saw the daycare that was so progressive. Thank you. And so I wonder if Prestige could be challenged to meet the economic or the urban renewal thing to add to this county and the other regions. I challenge them, since it seems to be going through, to meet that. Put in something. Give back to the community. Put something in Iowa Central for migrant workers or something. It's creative.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Susan Wolf, and then Kathy Freisley and Joanne Hardy.
Good morning. I grew up in Chicago, so for me, pork came on a yellow styrofoam tray from Jewel. So for me, that was it. So then I thought, well, I want to be a veterinarian. I want to be like Ron. And I thought that's what I was going to be. But then I realized I was too tender-hearted. Cannot do that at all. So I went to school for animal agribusiness swine management, because that I could do. Then I wasn't going to fall in love with that steer that I was going to have for 12, 14 months. Ended up marrying a pig farmer and raised hogs. I know that these gentlemen here are PQA plus certified. They go through audits. They know exactly what they're doing. I know that Mr. Prestage, and that's how you say his name. It's Prestige, not Prestage, not any other way. It's Prestige. I've worked with Ron on the pork board. I've worked with all these gentlemen. They know what they're doing. I live in Franklin County. Last night, I'm on a farm to market road. 11 trucks went by my house loaded with pigs. I smelled money. I didn't smell anything else. I smelled money. My husband is the national sales manager for a genetic company. I wish to God he wasn't, because then I could have pigs on my land. But I can't. Please support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy.
Well, I am opposed to this plant coming in because it will make more hog confinements, and I'm a citizen of Hardin County, and they are thick. They are very thick, and this will only increase their popularity because one lady said she saw money. I don't. I see chemicals being used in antibiotics in hogs. I refuse to buy pork in the grocery store because there is a carryover. I don't care what you say or who's telling me, I won't buy it. The water quality is affected in Hardin County. And when Ms. Sweeney said it doesn't bother her at all, I defy you to drive between Iowa Falls and Ackley in the summertime with the windows down. There are so many hog confinements. They're spotty. But my issue isn't with well, it is with the hog slaughter place here at Eagle Grove, because what it's going to do is increase the number of hog confinements. And an 8th grade teacher said, one man's liberty ends where another man's freedom begins. And as just a regular citizen, I don't have a PhD in agronomy or hog business or anything else. I'm just somebody that wants to enjoy life. And when you can't enjoy life for the smell, for the water being so polluted, my son's family
10 seconds.
took a canoe trip and the granddaughter fell in the river. And when they got her to the house, they immediately scrubbed her up. This is the Iowa River. It's just not fit. Pollution is a big problem.
Thank you.
Joanne Hart. Our last speaker.
Someone asked a question about the shortage of money for schools if you have this massive influx of more population. And that was the major concern of one of our city councilmen in Mason City where I live. Our councilman is a teacher and he supported the project because of the increased numbers of students would mean more money for the schools. But then the school board put the numbers down and did the figures on what the extra cost would be for students that need a lot of extra services. The school was using an unrealistic figure of 100 new students, which is massively too low, but after 4 years, the budget for the Mason City schools would have been $5 million short. I think you need to take hard looks at what the numbers are going to be for the added social services that you'll need, for the burden on the schools, for the burden on charities, because it has a great effect on the towns that will be affected. Prestige was fond of saying in Mason City that we were too big for the project. The fact is we were much too small for the project. The project was often compared to a slaughterhouse in St. Joseph, Missouri with a population of 76,000 people. They have struggled to work with the increased population, which came in large numbers and it comes fast. They all arrive close to the same time. They come together. The school there had to hire 26 ELL teachers. Their social services are stretched beyond what they can deal with, and so are their charities, and then there's the problem of finding enough translators to translate official documents and school notes to parents in all languages that are represented in the town. And the city of Marshalltown has 60 languages in their school system, so keep all that in mind. And I have one question though. You're working on what would happen if it happens like Cherokee, where the plant closes, and you said there'd be a tear down in 5 years. Could you explain who pays for the tear down, because these guys are setting up an LLC?
Okay, thank you. You want to answer that?
Within the document, it basically says that Prestage would be required to tear down the building and bring it to an all-natural state. Yep, as long as the first mortgage on the property allows for it. So AKA, the bank that has the mortgage, if they allow for it, then they can tear it down. Obviously, the bank needs to get their money back.
Okay, thank you. Does that conclude our speakers?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there anyone who hasn't spoken who would like to speak at this time? If not, I'm going to close that hearing, and we thank you for your input and your spending time here with us today. Item 7. Item 7 is to review and take action on resolutions 2016-22, expressing an intent to enter into a development agreement with Prestige Foods of Iowa, LLC, and to provide economic development support. This is the resolution, is it here, Betty?
That is correct.
Okay. The resolution, does anybody, you all have a copy of that? Okay. The resolution just states that we're expressing intent to enter into a development agreement and to provide economic development support. Whereas Prestage Foods of Iowa, LLC, the developer, has proposed to undertake the construction of a hog processing facility and related improvements. The project on certain real property situated in Wright County, Iowa. And whereas the developer has requested the Board of Supervisors of the county to approve provision for tax increment financing to support to help to defray the cost of the project through a series of annual appropriations, incremental property tax payments to be derived from the property for a period of 10 years and an aggregate amount not to exceed $8 million. Whereas the board intends to support the project by entering into a development agreement in substantially the form as has been presented to the board and is attached hereto Exhibit A, and making provision for the funding of the payments, and whereas the board will need to complete the statutory process for establishing the 2016 Wright County Agribusiness Urban Renewal Area, approving the project under plan for the urban renewal area, and approving the development agreement. But the county desires to convey its intent to pursue these actions to the developer in order to facilitate progress on the project through the adoption of this resolution. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Wright County, Iowa as follows. Section 1, subject to holding public hearings on the establishment of the urban renewal area and on the development agreement, the board hereby expresses its intent to support the project and to enter into the development agreement in the future. Section 2, the county hereby agrees to continue to use its best efforts to complete the statutory requirements of Chapter 403, the Code of Iowa, in order to finally approve the establishment of the urban renewal area. Further, the county hereby agrees to use its best efforts to complete the statutory requirements of Chapter 15A and 403 of the Code of Iowa in order to finally approve the development agreement. The county's commitment in this section is merely a present statement of intent, and that the board must exercise its ordinary political discretion in the completion of the statutory process referenced herein. The county will not be held liable in the event that the board, through the exercise of its ordinary political discretion, determines to not approve any of the actions outlined herein. So that is the resolution under consideration today. It is one to intent to enter into a development agreement. Carl, anything you'd like to add?
I think it gives us the opportunity. I think we're moving forward, and we'll have other meetings in the future.
All right. So we're under item 7. Rick, anything you'd like to add?
No.
Do I have a motion then?
I'll make the motion on resolution 2016-22.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second on resolution number 2016-22, a resolution to expressing interest to intent to enter into the development agreement with Prestage Foods of Iowa to provide economic development support. Is there further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Hegeveld, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Rasmussen, how do you vote?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. The resolution is agreed to. At this point, we have completed our business for this part of our meeting. This board will stand in recess till 1 p.m., at which time we'll reconvene in the supervisor's quarters downstairs in the basement. We'd like to thank you for attending today, and we appreciate your support and your interest in county government. Thank you all.